Speaker, Ma'am Karen S. Ocampo is a lifelong researcher. She finished her Bachelor of Science degree of Occupational Therapy from the University of Santo Tomas, Master's degree in Rehabilitation Sciences from the University of the Philippines, College of Allied Medical Professions, and second Master of Science degree in Occupational Therapy from UST, Magna Cum Laude. As an administrator, she served several functions, including college secretary in the College of Rehab Science in UST from 2011 to 2016, occupational therapy department chair from 2012 to 2015, and the internship supervisor in the department from 2016 to 2017. As a teacher, she has been faculty member of the BSOT program since 2006, and is in the roster of faculty members of the Master of Science in OT program. She also served as clinical supervisor and program developer in several community-based rehabilitation centers. As a clinician, she worked in several pediatric centers and memory clinics. As a researcher, she's an associate in this center that we are in today and a consultant of the Center for Inclusive Education in the same university. Hang on. Mahaba po ito. She works on development programs with multidisciplinary teams for disability inclusive education in public school settings. She is also a consultant of both government and private organizations, including the Office of the Vice Mayor for Quezon City in their inclusive program for children with disability, Save the Children for their inclusive education program Kasali. She is also a senior fellow of the Consultancy and Research Technologies of Bayan Academy, a social development organization tied with ABS-CBN Bayan Foundation. In her advocacy for inclusion, she has served as a speaker to several organizations aiming for equity through disability awareness. And that mouthful does not even come with a humongous number of publications that she has. She forgot to mention that. She is one of the most well-published researcher. She's the most read researcher in our journal, and she just came from a talk yesterday. So we're very glad that she gave us our time. Please help me in welcoming Ma'am Karen Ocampo.
Magandang umaga po. Napakahaba po ng intro. Okay, so good morning everyone. I am happy and honored to be in front of researchers this morning, and I was tasked to discuss about disability inclusive researches. So I see some OTs, okay? Proud OT there. Meron ba ditong PT? PT wala. Okay, sige. So from the rehab perspective, I tried to make my presentation as brief as possible, and of course to cater to all professions. So my discussion would comprise of two parts. First is disability inclusion, and second is heeding the call for research. So according to the World Health Organization, what are the topics that need to be researched on, and how that can contribute to better health outcomes of the people. So before I begin, it's always my advocacy or my approach to be participatory. So I want you to watch this video.
My name is Maria. I'm from Managua, Nicaragua, and I am 19 years old. I was born at 5 months, and one of the consequences was the loss of my vision. We started to learn how to live with my disability since the early years at school, how to learn to use the braille system, and all the necessary things so that I could develop myself as an equal person. The time to start the 7th grade came. The teachers at that moment didn't have the knowledge or the tools to give me the attention that I needed. They were reading information, getting the training, they needed to get the quality education that I have now. am the only person who is blind. They have accepted me and have included me. We work as a team. It's a very beautiful experience. Even though I am blind, I am able to be a leader. I am also part of the Academic Excellence Board. A person who has education is a person with many weapons to fight poverty. In society, it makes us independent. It makes us be more useful to our country. We, as people with disabilities, are no exception. Society must learn that we are all equal, and that many times it's not the condition itself that makes us have a disability, but it's the environment, the attitudes, and the bad actions. I am a person who thinks as an entrepreneur. I like to fight until I am able to reach my dreams. And I never give up, regardless of the limitations. There is always a reward.
Okay, so given that, what were the enablers that made Maria's story a successful one? Anyone? Education. What else? Supportive environment. What else? What else? What did you see are the success factors? Why was Maria so successful in her context?
Motivation.
Motivation. Tools.
Family,
The tools. She has the
support.
tools. Okay. What else po?
Supportive family.
Supportive family.
Teacher.
The teacher was also supportive.
Friends.
The friends. What about the friends?
Classmates.
They accepted her.
Yes, accept.
Okay. Acceptance. So if we look at the reasons why Maria was successful, you see that a lot of the enablers that you did mention focused around the self or the surrounding factors. Is it the self or the surrounding factors? The surrounding factors that made this person with disability a successful person. Okay? And I want us to reflect, no, sa mga researches na, meron ba dito hindi nakakaintindi ng Tagalog? Okay, among the researches that we have read about disability, a lot of them focus on the person, right? And this is why we want to extend or to focus more on the things that can make the persons with disabilities more successful. Okay? And that is the aim of the first part of this lecture. So let's start off with statistics. Sorry. With the statistics. According to the World Report on Disability, this is by the World Health Organization and World Bank, there is 15% of the world's population who are experiencing some sort of disability. That's around 1 billion. Okay, now what about in the Philippines? Okay, so remember, it's 15%. Okay, according to yung global statistics. However, according to the Philippine statistics, okay, there's only 1.57% of the population who have some form of disability. Okay, so that's very far from the world estimate. considering that we are a developing country. So that only goes to show that perhaps not a lot of them were detected in these statistics, right? So a lot of them are still hidden in the homes, or probably the tools that were used were not sensitive enough to detect those who have disabilities. Bakit? The common misconception or the common disability na nakikita lang are the physical ones. Okay? And that can be a factor behind the very low. It doesn't mean na, ay, konti lang pala sa Pilipinas. Hindi po. Because according to the report, that 15% may go higher with developing countries. And so, given this, no, sa Pilipinas, 1.57% of the country's population have some form of disability. Males accounted for 50.9%, while females comprised of 49.1%. So, slightly higher lang ang males. No? Now, what about the age? According to Philippine Statistics Authority, 10 to 14 years old comprise the 7.2% of those with disability. 15 to 19 years old comprise 6.9%, and 50 to 54 years old is 6.6%. Okay, so what does that tell us? A lot of those detected with disabilities are actually in the age range of 10 to 19 years old. Okay, so medyo pediatrics yung population. Okay. What were the top three conditions? No? It's visual impairment, mobility impairment, and third is hearing impairment. So, who are these people with disabilities? According to the UNCRPD, they have long-term physical, mental, intellectual, and sensory impairment, and these interact with the barriers that hinder them from being included in the society. So with that definition, the question is, if a person has hearing impairment, does he or she have a disability? Who can answer? Yes. Sige, si ma'am na naka-checkered na yellow and orange.
Not necessarily, ma'am.
Not necessarily, why?
Because as I remembered from our lectures, if you're impaired, it pertains to the physical impairment. And then if it's a different issue when we discuss disability or handicap, it's because when the tools around you or the environment does not enable you to perform your function, that's when you have the disability or the handicap.
Okay, so with that, correct si ma'am. Okay? The impairment goes down to the body part, whereas if the body part impairment now interacts with the environment and limits the participation in activities, then that's disability. And then, if it limits one to perform roles within the society, then that's handicap. So, with that, it's very important for us to reflect and know what our lens is as regards to disability. So, with this, I'm going to discuss the different models of disability. Okay, so why is that important? Because paradigms primarily influence the way that we view a particular situation. And seeing that situation that there are so many people with disabilities, okay, how do we address that through our researches? Okay, so there are 4 models of disability. Aware po ba kayo about this? No? Okay, sige. So, there are 4 types or models of disability, and we have to be aware of which model we are using, because that will primarily influence the way that we frame our research questions. So first is charity. When we talk about charity, it looks at people with disabilities as people na kailangan natin kaawaan, and therefore, sino ngayon ang mga kailangan mag-act on that situation? Yung mga good-hearted, yung mga madre, ganyan, o yung mga mababait na tao. Sila lang yung mga duty bearers, ika nga. Okay? But when we talk about the medical model, we see the person as the problem. So we see disability going down to the impairment level, wherein we see the physical, the mental, or the sensorial problems being the main factor why this person is not included in the society. So nakafocus tayo sa tao. Okay, this is a very traditional view. Why? Because a lot of allied health professionals, kaya nga siya medical model, usually look into the signs and symptoms of a condition. We look at, ito yung diagnosis. These are the classic symptoms. Ito yung presenting symptoms. So we are looking at the medical perspective. Okay? Which is, I think, automatic for allied health professionals. But then, this is a very traditional view. And this does not translate to being included in the society. And as allied health professionals, we've seen this happen in the clinics wherein we have done a lot of therapy sessions, ganyan, or interventions addressing the different skills of the person with disability, only to find out that when they go out to the society, they still cannot function. They still are not accepted. So no matter how much we target the different skills, the different impairment level problems, it does not translate to being included. Because this is the model or the paradigm. Okay? But then, there is the social model of disability, wherein we try to look into the environment. What is the kind of environment that this person with disability is engaging in? Okay, so titignan natin, is it accessible or inaccessible? Or what are the attitudes? So ako sa practice ko, a lot of times, it's the attitude of the people which is the problem. No matter how good the person with disability is in terms of the skill, but then paglabas, may label na kaagad na PWD kasi siya or person with disability kasi siya. And so with that further aggravates the condition na hindi na siya na-accept. Because of the label, nagkakaroon na ng automatic na impressions about them. So that trickles all the more pagdating sa employment nila. Ay, may disability. Hindi siya hireable. Ganun kaagad. Okay, so here, in the social model of disability, we look at the context, the surrounding context, and look into what the barriers are. Okay, so, but then there's also the higher model, which is the rights-based approach. So here, it integrates the norms, standards, and principles of the international human rights system into the plans, strategies, policies, and processes. So, in particular, in the UNCRPD, it stipulates that we need to promote, protect, and ensure the full and equal enjoyment of all human rights and fundamental freedoms by all persons with disability and to promote respect for their inherent dignity. So why is this the highest form or the highest level when it comes to looking at PWDs or persons with disabilities? It's because we see all people looking at their dignity. So that means regardless of your ability, of your race, or socio-economic status, we all have equal dignity. And with that, that also goes for the PWDs or the persons with disabilities. They also have equal dignity just like us. So looking at that, the different models of disability, so ito po yung continuum from charity, medical, social, and human rights. This is a very important table because we see here how disability is defined, how disability is addressed, and who are the duty bearers, meaning who should act to address the problems with disability. So if you see here, sa charity model, as I've said, the duty bearers or those who need to act are the good people or charity houses. Okay? Pero pagdating sa human rights, it's everyone. All of us should act, should do something for the PWDs, with the PWDs. As compared to the medical and social model, look at this, sa medical model of disability. Sino ang mag-act on that? The doctors and health authorities. Kasi medical syempre sa allied health yung pinaka-nakakaalam about these conditions. And with that, ang makikita natin sa research, it is the allied health professionals who should do researches and develop programs. No, pagdating sa social and human rights model, ito pareho, no, na everyone should work together to eliminate the disparity between the disabled and the non-disabled. Okay, so have you read the document, the United Nations Conventions on the Rights of Persons with Disability? Have you read that? Okay, sige. So, I have a video, a short clip lang, just a gist about the different rights stipulated there.
We are all equal before the law.
Women and girls with disabilities should have the full rights to freedoms enjoyed by everyone in the community.
As children with disabilities, we have the right to express our views on matters that affect us.
We are capable and contributing members of society.
We have the right to physical access and information access.
We have the right to life.
We have the right to be rescued in times of disaster. We have the right to equal recognition before the law.
We have the right to justice. We have the right to live freely in the community, to live independently and be included.
We must not be tortured, exploited, or abused.
We have the same rights as others to choose where we live and where we travel.
We have the right to access information and to express opinions.
We have the right to privacy and to have intimate relationships.
Our children cannot be taken away just because of our disability.
We have the right to education, jobs, and healthcare.
We have the right to participate in cultural and public life.
Okay, so, yan na po. Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability in a gist. So, you see there, the different rights that we should give to the persons with disabilities. And we should also, later on, I will be explaining the concept of empowerment. Okay? So, hindi lang kasi dapat ibinibigay sa kanila yung right, but they should claim these rights. And they can only do that if they are empowered. Okay? So, looking at the World Report on Disability, it says there that the priority is to ensure access to appropriate, timely, affordable, and high-quality rehabilitation interventions consistent with the CRPD, which I just showed, for all those who need them. Okay? In particular, in the lower income countries, the focus should be on introducing and gradually expanding rehabilitation services, prioritizing cost-effective approaches. Now, why is that so? Are we in a lower level or lower income country? Tama po ba? Yes, we all agree on that. No? Why should that be a priority? Being in the low income country category, why is it important for us to address disability? Because there is a cycle of poverty and disability. That the more that the person is stricken in poverty, the more at risk this person is to have disability. And if a person has a disability, then the cycle continues that hindi na siya may employ, hindi na siya matatanggap ng society, and that all the more reinforces the cycle. Okay, so to further elaborate on that, let's watch this.
My name is Khaled.
My name is Alexander.
My name is Abid.
My name is Obada.
My name is Machi.
Hello. My name is Renee.
Lorenzo.
My name is Blas.
My name is Ekaite Judith Moore. I am one of the 1 billion people with disability in the world right now.
I have the right to lead a full life with equal opportunities.
from discrimination and exclusion.
But having a disability means I'm more likely to live in poverty.
I was left out of school.
I have been left out of employment.
I did not receive the health care and rehabilitation I need.
People think I should not have a family and children.
And
Because I live in poverty, I am more likely to obtain a disability.
I didn't have the opportunity to eat nutritious food.
I had an accident, and my family couldn't afford the treatment.
I was injured in the war, and I couldn't access treatment.
I had no access to immunizations or the health care I needed.
So, because I have a disability, I'm more likely to live in poverty.
And because I live in poverty, I'm more likely to have a disability.
It's a persistent, unfair cycle that I and millions of other people are trapped in.
But the cycle of poverty and disability can be broken. If I have the opportunity to contribute to my family and community,
without discrimination and regardless of gender.
And if all children with disability have the opportunity to go to school,
and teachers have the training and skills to include all people, then we have the opportunity to end the cycle.
If I am given the chance to work and generate income for my family,
And if I can access the physical and mental health care I need,
Then we can end the cycle of poverty and disability.
I have human rights the same as everyone.
I have the right to defend my interests.
I have the right to be independent in my self-determination.
I have contributions to make.
Imagine how much richer every community will be.
When my skills and talents are contributed, let's end the cycle.
let's end the cycle.
let's end the cycle.
Let's end the cycle.
Okay, so that's why poverty and disability are very much interconnected. So when we do our researches, it's more likely to address ending that cycle of poverty and disability. So with that, what are the 6 core elements of a disability-inclusive approach which we can apply in our researches? Number 1 is awareness, second is participation, third is accessibility and universal design, fourth is twin track approach, fifth is empowerment, and sixth is gender equality. So let's briefly discuss each one of them. First is awareness. It has to be told that PWDs are not a homogeneous group. There are so many types of disability, and it's not just because you have one representative of a condition na represent na lahat ng persons with disability. It does not happen that way. In the same manner that women with disabilities have different experiences with men with disabilities. Okay, so that's intersectionality, no? May iba't ibang factors na kailangan natin tinitignan. And so with that, it also goes to show that throughout the lifespan, iba-iba rin yung experience. From the elderly population with disability to the pediatrics. Okay, so that's number 1. Awareness will also influence the way that we view our researches. Next is participation. And this is briefly explained. Nothing about us without us. Okay, why? Because our intention is that these researches would eventually influence policies and development of programs for the PWD's inclusion. No? So, that goes to show that dun pa lang sa considered as a very rich perspective on what should be done about these programs to include them. Okay, so that's second. Third is accessible and universal design. So universal design involves designing products and environments so that they can be used by the widest range of people possible without need for adaptation or specialized design. Yung universal design, it actually evolved from the accessible design. Before, it was accessibility. Diba? Meron tayong VP344. Kung saan, nakalagay doon, ano yung ramps, diba? May inclination, ano dapat dalawa yung grab bar, lahat yon nakastipulate doon. Pero syempre, hindi siya sinusunod. Kasi wala namang enforcement procedures. No? So, yun pa lang, napakadami ng problems, no? Pagdating sa accessibility. All the more when we talk about universal design. Because universal design goes further by recognizing that there is a wide spectrum of human abilities, no? Regardless of ability, ibig sabihin, kahit na elderly yan, senior citizen, or pregnant, or those in wheelchair, as much as possible, lahat sila pwedeng maka-access ng mga structures na yan. So, for that, even if, for example, there is temporary illness, okay, let's say one of us, no, would have a temporary disability. Let's say nagkaroon ng fracture, or let's say by old age, naka-ready na kaagad yung physical structures. Okay. Next is the empowerment. No, this is the empowerment framework. Okay, so actually this lecture is really parang one course or one sem. Pero try to bombard na lang, no? But hopefully ma-reach natin yung objective for you to change, no, that perspective. Kasi lagi ang perspective nakatuon lang, no? Effective ba tong strategy na to o hindi? Ganyan, no? We have to go further than that. So dito sa empowerment framework, nakikita lang natin dito yung different steps for the PWDs to have control over their lives. Okay? And when we talk about empowerment, medyo gas-gas na po yung term na yan. No? But it's often misused because you do not give extreme disability in such a way na kapag na-address natin at the PWD level or dun sa person level with disability, how can then they be integrated into the society? So dito na pumapasok how we can enable inclusion, how we can mainstream the PWDs, no? Magandang usapin yun madalas sa mga programs na ginagawa na research-based. For example, eventually, no, itong program, madalas kasi yung nakikita natin yan may program pero separate. May program for PWD. Walang pinag-iba sa SPED, sa special education. Iba nakahiwalay ang mga children with disabilities sa classroom. May separate na program. So that is not inclusion. Kasi hindi mo sila ihinalo sa mga regular classroom. So that is not inclusion. In the same manner, sa mga government projects or programs, meron silang special program for PWDs. Hindi po ba? Hindi po gano'n. Dapat sa lahat ng development sectors, okay? Mapa-health, mapa-education, lahat, included na dapat yung disability doon. Hindi yung meron silang, usually yun ang trabaho ng PIDAW yung Person with Disability Affairs Office. Yun yung PIDAW, siya yung spokesperson sa lahat ng yun. Whereas dapat, bawat program o dapat sector or department, included na kaagad doon yung usapin or issues ng mga people with disabilities. Yun ang inclusion. Okay? So that's twin track kasi kapag ang ginagawa natin, nakahiwalay ang mga persons with disability, dito lang yon. So it has to be twin track. Ibig sabihin, while we are addressing the different abilities of the persons with disabilities, we are also trying to address how they can be integrated as a whole. Okay? And that can move us forward for full participation of the persons with disabilities in the society. Okay? Clear po yun, yung twin track approach. Yes. Okay, so next is gender equality. So there is a need for an intersectional approach to disability and gender. So we can learn a lot from the women empowerment, diba? How they advocate for their rights, for equality. Okay, buti pa sila kasi they are able to speak. They are able to advocate for themselves. But many times, the PWDs, they are not capable of advocating for themselves. And that is what we need to target sometimes, no? Minsan kasi alam naman nila yung rights nila, but they're not asserting them. They're not claiming these rights. Okay? So, with that, we also need to address. Minsan kasi, sa issues of PWDs, hindi equal yung gender distribution. So, kailangan makikita natin yun. As I've said, 5 minutes. As I've said, perhaps in intersectionality, kailangan include natin yung gender with the disability issues. So with that, how can we expand research and evidence-based practice? There are some aspects of rehabilitation na research on na, pero there are some na hindi masyado or they receive little attention. And these are these topics, no? Validated research on specific rehab intervention for PWDs, including medical, therapeutic, assistive, and CBR. Charles and Ron. CBR, okay? Community-based. Kasi nga, in a low-resource setting, kailangan makita natin ano yung pinaka-cost-effective. Okay? And then, rehabilitation lacks RCTs, di ba sa mundo ng research is always RCT. Okay, na yun yung highest form. But then, nahihirapan tayo to have RCTs in the field of disability because iba-iba sila ng manifestations. So doon pa lang sa pag-allocate, pag-randomize, sa pag-randomize pa nga lang, wala na tayong total population. Kasi dun sa census, nakita nyo naman, 1.57% lang daw ang may disability, when in fact, it should be at the very least, 15% of the population. So napakahirap mag-RCT, no, sa case ng studies of PWDs. And to find the link between rehab needs, receipt of services, health outcomes, and cost. Okay, so we do not just limit, no, to the services, ano yung mga naging health outcomes nun in the long run. And again, cost-benefit analysis. Kapag binigay itong intervention na to, ano ngayon yung naging effect nun sa family as a whole and the community. Access barriers and facilitators for rehab, models of service provision, approaches to human resource development, financing, modalities, among others. Isa sa mga emerging topics ngayon is assistive devices. Okay? Especially in a low-resource country, how can we make assistive devices more accessible? Okay? And then, cost-effectiveness and sustainability of rehab measures, including CBR program. So, nireiterate niya many times, no? This is according to the World Health Organization, about community-based rehab programs. Because again, researches should be geared towards the benefit of the people in the community. So, yung mga clinical trials, the people in the community will benefit less because, bakit ano nangyayari? Sa clinical trial, very controlled yung environment. Kapag inilabas mo na sa community at hindi nasunod yung protocol, paano na yun? Okay? So, what are the challenges? So there is no common taxonomy for rehab measures. Napaka-daming interventions. And I speak also as an occupational therapist. Okay, napakadami namin rehab intervention, and that would depend on the our OD diagnosis to the patient. Okay? Rehab outcomes can be difficult to characterize and study given the breadth and complexity of measures. For the case of the persons with disability, it is rare that they only require one service. It's usually an array of service. My PT, my OT, my SPED, my psych. Okay? Of course, my doctor, my nurse. Okay? So lahat yan, how will you integrate all that? Okay? So yun, napakahirap. And then, valid outcome measures given the interprofessional collaboration. Okay? Madalas, kanya-kanyang outcome measure yan. No? So, paano naman if you aggregate all those outcomes? So, wala pa masyadong gano'n. And sample sizes are often too small for generalization. Okay, those are the challenges. The need to allow for participation of the PWDs. Especially me in my experience, having researches on children with disabilities, it's very difficult to have them to participate. Okay, syempre, nandun na yung konsepto na paano sila magpa-participate as children with disabilities. Usually, kinakausap lang are those with physical disabilities. But again, there are children with disabilities who have developmental delays who are also capable of participating. And again, nothing for us without us. Okay, remember that, no? In researches that we undertake, there has to be the participation of the persons with disability. Okay? So action points, since we are going to do researches, okay, better data are needed on service provision, service outcomes, and the economic benefits of rehabilitation. Specifically, yung economic benefits, I rarely see studies on that. Okay, like what is the impact of a certain intervention or a program on the cost-benefit analysis of this family or in the community. Okay? Next is evidence for effectiveness of intervention and programs will be very beneficial to policymakers, for the rehab workers to do their appropriate interventions, and to support PWDs in decision making. And then long-term longitudinal studies are needed. Okay? Of course, we want to see ano nga ba yung long-term outcomes ng mga interventions. And then, what are the effects of this on the family and the communities? Okay? So the strategies, we need to involve, again, the end users. Sino ba ang end users nito? Of course, the PWDs, or the family, or the community. If they're the ones who are going to benefit from these researches, then they should be involved. And use the ICF framework for a common language or terminologies to be used. Okay? And we have to disseminate our results. How can it influence policies if we do not disseminate our findings? And then you have to be very creative with our methods. Okay? As I've said, there are a lot of methods na kailangan natin customize or i-revise, tweak a bit so that it caters to the PWDs. And so we have to be very creative with our methods. And lastly, partnerships. So we have to partners with the academic, with the universities, with international organizations, so that we can also benchmark and for us to benefit also from their innovations, how we can adapt some of these innovations here in our country. And so with that, if you remember earlier, ito yung mga nakita natin na enablers in the life of Maria. I hope that stick to you, that when you mentioned the different enablers, why the PWDs were successful, you mentioned a lot of factors pertaining to the environment or the context. But then when we look at our researches, how would that then impact the successful integration or inclusion of the PWDs in the society? Okay, so with that, thank you for your time.
We're now accepting questions for Ms. Karen. Yes, from the back.
Good morning po.
Good morning.
So this whole topic is fairly new to me, and I just want to clarify, of the four models of disability, is it right or is it safe to say or think that the rights-based approach is the most encompassing, thus the most ideal of the four?
Yes, it's the most ideal among the four. Yes. So parang our goal is, well, first is awareness. Ano ba yung model natin? How do we see disability? So kung nandun tayo sa medical model, then perhaps being aware of that, perhaps we need to look into more social model, may mga barriers, and to the end of the spectrum, yung highest is the rights-based. Yes, ma'am. Ay, sorry.
Okay. Hey, ma'am, may tanong lang po ako, no? Kasi, is there an ongoing study, diba? We may have a database, no, kung sino yung mga PWDs. And we also have a database kung sino yung mga providers, yung mga allied professionals for rehabilitation. And we also have a data, siguro, kung ano yung mga schools in the country that are offering these courses. Ang tanong ko po, do we have a study linking all these three para ma-identify po natin, like, for example, in my province, ilan ba ang kailangan ko na OT-PT at saan sila? Kasi actually, doctor po ako, kantay implementer, yun po. Pero parang, kailangan nga nila, pero saan namin sila kukunin?
Yes, we very much agree with that need, and we have here, no, from the PAOK, the Philippine Academy of OT. Officer po yan, si Sir Ron. Yes, na-serve bigla. But there are attempts per organization. So dun pa lang sa allied health, like sa amin, in profiling the OTs, there is an attempt to map it out, okay? Pero pagdating sa PP, meron din silang, everything is being done in silo. So, may separate. And in the case of the education, there is a move for inclusive education. But then, although there is a memo from DepEd, superficial yung pagkaka-implement niya. And with that, kahit na ma-profile mo yun, hindi pa rin siya true to inclusive education per se. So, dun pa lang, within the profession, there is already a struggle. So, now linking all of that is definitely a challenge. But we do agree that it is needed. And we would be very grateful kapag may nag-conduct ng study na gano'n. Because as for occupational therapists, there is an attempt to do that type of database. Pagdating sa schools, there is, pero for now, it's SPED. Ganun po yung mga profiling. So sa kanya-kanyang domains, there is an ongoing struggle in having that profile pa po. Yun po yung current status. Yes.
How are you doing to achieve quality education for equity's sake? If you are going to put or place the student or student with disability in a regular classroom, because when we say inclusive, we are equally giving everyone a chance. But when we are looking education, it's more on equity, giving due to the in terms of considering also multiple intelligences in the classroom.
Yes. So the question is, how do we provide equitable services? There is a model that RTI, Response to Intervention Model. May PowerPoint ako nun. Nag-lecture na rin. So, there's a response to intervention model. It's being done in other countries. Pero here in the Philippines, we're parang emerging pa lang, trying to practice that. Kasi nga, the move for education is that medyo abrupt. Kasi from SPED, ginagawa ang inclusive ed. So, kahit tignan nyo dun sa inclusive ed na binraft ngayon na policy, kung babasahin mo yon, SPED pa rin ang content nun. Ngayon, doon sa nire-recommend na policy, doon sa equitable services, it's not just putting the child in the classroom and then the child swims. So sink and swim yon, di ba? It's still a medical model because there has to be transformation or change within the system, the educational system. So dun sa response to intervention approach, there are different levels. So meron doon sa general curriculum, which can be addressed to all the children in general. Kapag may dapat yung curriculum itself, may transformation na ganito. Doon pa lang sa general curriculum. But we know how it is, no? Especially in public schools, because I've been doing researches in public schools. Meron na silang lesson plan. So, yes. So, paano ka mag-accommodate yung, di ba, yung modifications na pwedeng gawin? Doon pa lang struggle na yun. Yun, that's the first layer. That's the first part. Yung second is the children at risk. Marami sa mga children with disability ay tagged lang as children at risk because of the very few developmental pediatricians in the country. So, dahil sa sobrang haba ng pila, hindi sila diagnosed. So, dahil wala silang diagnosis, hindi sila consider as children with disability kasi walang label. Ganun dito sa Pilipinas. So, ang nangyayari, lahat sila nandun sa at risk. Kasi parang pyramid yan parang ganun siya. So, general curriculum, so general enrollment, nasa gitna yung children at risk. Yung children at risk, ito yung mga pwedeng magkaroon ng, let's say, additional group session, ganyan. And then yung last, yung nasa top, sila yung mga children with disabilities who should be given additional services such as OT, PT, ganon. So that's how the framing should be for equitable educational services. Pero again, it's a different story with public schools. Kasi nga, it worked for other countries because they have around 20 to 25 students. But in the public school system, there is around 50. Diba? So can you imagine if you have 50 students and then you have there 3 students with disability dapat, pero dahil nakapila sila sa sobrang haba, hindi pa sila diagnosed, so children at learners with concerns. So, paano yun? Diba? So, yun isa sa mga researches na ginagawa namin actually ngayon. We're trying to develop what we call a pre-referral instructional support manual. We're training the public school teachers paano mag-handle ng mga children at risk or learners with concern. So, wala pa itong diagnosis. So, anong pwede nilang gawin habang nakapila yung bata, no, for services? Kasi we know that there is really very few OTs, very few deaf beds. So what can the public school teachers do while they wait? So meron kami din tinatry na i-develop na manual that they can use to improve fine motor skills, self-help skills, gross motor, cognitive, communication, and psychosocial development. You're welcome.
We can only accommodate one last question.
I think part of the framework you should also consider human health resource because according to Dr. Biglete, physical therapy and occupational therapy is the #1 priority list in terms of we have to produce more because talagang parang kulang na, no? Talagang naubos na.
That's true.
Kasi sa Cavite, the PHO and the MHO, kahit may HSI, may school, kulang pa rin sa community-based rehab. They're asking for help. Schools, colleges with PT program. Helicopter. Simon. Wait lang po. Helicopter.
Pabay mo lang yan.
Okay.
Yes, we need help kasi for the clinical internship, they need the PH and MHO is asking for more interns.
Yes.
Unfortunately, we can only provide minimal number of students for internship. So I think it should be part of the research and the campaign. Because even if we have a very good program, but we lack even SPED.
Yes. True po yan. Actually, part of the efforts is yung community-based. Part of the community-based rehabilitation program is actually the training of the people in the community who can provide the services, limited services, ika nga, kasi may license naman po. But that's part of the community-based rehabilitation approach. Yung kanina pong na-mention ko, it's part of training the people in the community to empower them. O yun nga po, yung ma-realize sila that they can handle also these children with disabilities or the PWDs in the community, give them certain training or let's say referral mechanisms. Ganun po. That's why, agree po ako doon sa human resources. There are actually other countries na, like Thailand, ang kanilang model is to link the university with the community. And often, sa ibang countries kasi like Rwanda and Thailand, may silang policy na ang allied health, kailangan mag-practice sila sa mga provinces, may return service na 2 years. Parang gano'n. So, mandated sa kanila yun. Dito kasi wala. Hindi po ayun, may dalawa pong natira. Ayun po. So, yun. But I agree with you, ma'am.
Sorry po.